Have you just walked away from a toxic relationship with a narcissist? Are you determined to go into no contact mode? If so, let me tell you this. You've just taken one of the bravest steps of your life. But there's a truth few people will say outright. When you go silent, the narcissist does not sit still. Behind that surface indifference, they nurture dark hopes and covert schemes. They wait for you to collapse, to come back, to turn your silence into a plea for forgiveness. In their distorted mind, you aren't a free human being, you're a source of supply they can summon back whenever they want. So what really happens inside a narcissist's mind when you cut off contact? Do they win when you disappear from their life? Or is your disappearance the most painful defeat they'll never dare admit? In today's video, we'll walk together through the 8 stages a narcissist typically goes through when you enter no contact. This isn't just a map to recognize their power games, it's a reminder that you have the strength to move forward without ever looking back. So sit down and take a deep breath. Let me walk beside you, opening each door and exposing every hidden corner in the narcissist's mind, so you're no longer afraid, no longer swayed, and can continue on your own healing journey with steadiness, freedom, and complete sovereignty. Part 1. The stage where they believe you'll come back. When you bravely step out of a toxic relationship with a narcissist, the first thing that appears in their mind is not loss, but an arrogant belief that sooner or later you will return. To them, your leaving isn't the decisive act of an adult reclaiming their freedom. It's a tantrum, a sulk, a dramatic exit like a child stomping off, only to come back when they start to feel the lack. In their distorted worldview, you were never an independent being. With sovereignty, you were supply, an emotional energy source they once possessed, and therefore believe they can retrieve at will. This certainty doesn't arise out of nowhere. It's been nurtured over months and years, through every time you forgave, every moment you softened, every time you pushed your pain aside just to keep the relationship going. Each time you came back after an argument, every tear you shed while still deciding to stay became proof in their psychological archive that you can't live without them. And from that, they draw a cold, arrogant conclusion. This departure is no different. Just wait, and you'll show up again. While waiting, the narcissist often chooses a familiar tactic: silence. They don't call, they don't text, they don't beg. But that silence is not surrender. On the contrary, it's a sophisticated psychological play. They believe their coldness will make you lose your mind, feel lonely, question your own decision. In the scenario they've built in their heads, you won't be able to endure the emptiness. You'll torment yourself for being too harsh, and eventually you'll be the one to reach out. They tell themselves, let them thrash about, they'll get tired and crawl back. More chilling still, while waiting they often script a mental revenge. Your return would not only reaffirm their power, but also give them a chance to teach you a lesson. They imagine you kneeling, crying, begging for forgiveness. In that moment, they are once again the strong one, the benefactor. They may even act magnanimous, but only as a way to punish you for daring to leave. For them, love has never been love. It's always been a game of control, and your return equals their victory. To reinforce this belief, they constantly compare the present to the past. They recall every time you wavered, every time you said, let's try again, every time you chose forgiveness over walking away. Each memory is another tile in the mosaic of their certainty that history will repeat. In their eyes, you are frozen in your old self-loving, hurt, leaving, and then returning. They don't believe you can change. They don't believe you have the strength to leave once and for all. In their mind, you're not a living, feeling partner, but a trophy. You're like an item on a shelf they once owned, and because they owned it, they assume they can take it back any time. Your departure, to them, is not a loss, only a temporary distance. They're too arrogant to accept that you might vanish completely from their life. But here's the truth you must engrave into your mind. It's all their illusion. They believe you'll return, but that's not reality. Your silence is not a test they can outwait. Your silence is the declaration of a person reclaiming their freedom. They can wait as long as they like. You don't have to step back into that cycle again. Of course, maintaining this resolve is not easy. No contact is like a detox. You'll endure lonely nights, moments when you crave a single text, a single call to feel connected again. There will be times you miss them, times you wonder if they've changed, times you question if you're being too harsh. But remember, every message you send is a door you're cracking open, and even the smallest crack is enough for the narcissist to rush in and take over your life once more. You cannot heal in the same environment that wounded you. Just as an alcoholic can't have just one drink without relapsing, you can't have just a little contact with the one who harmed you without being pulled back under. So remind yourself again and again, you don't owe them a return. You don't need to prove you're loving, forgiving, empathic. You already did all of that during the relationship. If they truly valued it, they wouldn't have lost you in the first place. Now, you don't need to go back to make amends or to save anything. You only need to keep moving forward to save yourself. The narcissist may sit there coldly, convinced you'll break and return, but that's just the story in their head. The real story is being written in every step you take, in every day you remain steadfast in your silence, in every breath you choose peace over chaos, and you are the author of that story. You're no longer a display piece in their ego world. You're a free soul, a human being worthy of real love and true respect. By choosing no contact, you're not just leaving a relationship, you're stepping out of the darkness and onto a path of sovereignty, healing, and authentic freedom. Part 2. The stage where they secretly watch you. Even though you've decisively left the relationship, your presence still haunts the narcissist like an itch they can't scratch. Their restlessness isn't love, it's obsession and power. Every time they can't, quote, connect with you, they feel they're missing something vital, not you as a person, but the feeling of possession, control, and triumph they once enjoyed. They don't truly crave conversation or reconciliation. They want to be the unseen audience, quietly observing, quietly surveilling, searching for signs that your departure was a mistake. In their warped satisfaction, watching you struggle is proof they still have influence, that they're still the center of the story. So don't be surprised if one day you open your phone and find odd things, strange accounts viewing your profile repeatedly, a sudden spike in followers, or a flood of friend requests from unfamiliar faces. Sometimes it's not coincidence. It may well be the narcissist hiding in the shadows behind fake profiles, or even using mutual friends' accounts to keep an eye on you. Every photo you post, every caption you write, every punctuation mark in a comment becomes a signal for them to decode. Picture them sitting there, silently scrolling, staring at the fragments you leave on social media. For every radiant smile, they scrutinize whether it's real or just a mask hiding pain. For every post, they hunt for clues about what you're thinking, feeling, whether you're happier without them. They don't need to step into the light or speak. Watching from a distance is enough to feed their sick curiosity and sustain their illusion of power. Sometimes you even feel a chill from coincidences. You post a sad quote, and right after they just happen to send a check-in message. Or you share a travel photo, and suddenly a new account appears leaving an odd emoji. These small things aren't random, they're tests, probes, to see if the door is still open. If after leaving you still publicly display your hurt, posting sad statuses, photos hinting at pain that only feeds their smugness, narcissists constantly check the residue of their past words and actions to see if they still affect you. They're not only curious about how you're living, they're measuring the impact of their past abuse. Are you still weak, still hoping, still waiting for them? On the flip side, you may be trapped in another psychological snare. Craving an apology or acknowledgement from the one who hurt you is completely understandable. You want them to come back, not to rekindle, but to validate that what you went through was real, that they truly are what you've realized they are. So you leave your Facebook, Instagram, even your number open in some deep place, hoping they'll knock again so you can see clearly once and for all. But that's exactly the crack the narcissist waits for. They're masters of manipulation, know your weak spots, know how to press on old wounds and cleverly stir your curiosity, longing, hope. They have a kind of superpower in practical psychology. A single heart emoji or a seemingly innocuous message can destabilize you, revive old memories, pry open the door you tried to lock. Don't let the hunger for validation trap you again. A decent, loving person doesn't hurt you and then reappear as if nothing happened. A decent person respects your decision and leaves you in peace. Only the malicious toy with someone's emotions this way. Remember, they don't want you to escape the negative loop because they themselves are bound in a toxic bond with you. Their envy and obsession make them unable to tolerate your moving beyond their control. Every time you try to move forward, they'll try to pull you back. That's the only way to feel in charge. They watch you not out of mere curiosity, but to see whether their past abuse still works. They want to see you weak because it proves they still have a chance, that you can still be exploited. This is why you must be strategic about how you display your strength after leaving. Be strong, but hide your strength wisely. Don't let the narcissist see you shine in a way that could trigger their envy. Let them stay lost in their illusion of control while you quietly rise. They want to see you miserable and collapsing, but you can show the opposite. Living well, happy, and more successful than ever, but doing it silently. By quietly transforming your life, you both protect yourself and neutralize their power game. To the narcissist, you're not a person with feelings, hopes, and dreams. In their eyes, you're just an object, a piece of property, valued not for your real self, but for how well you serve their selfish needs. Even when you clearly state it's over, that you're no longer involved, they still think of you as theirs. This toxic attachment makes them refuse to let go because they cannot accept losing what they consider their property. Their continued surveillance of you, even after you've left, isn't just curiosity, it springs from a sick sense of power. They tell themselves that watching you keeps you in their sight, that you're not entirely out of their control. In their mind, you're part of their ecosystem, a source of self-satisfaction, superiority, even self-worth. This not only makes it hard for them to release you, but also pushes them to interfere in your life, directly or indirectly. Think of the narcissist as a car collector, but not of luxury vehicles. Their garage is full of old cars, each representing a past relationship. To them, these cars aren't valuable machines. They're merely possessions they can store and use whenever they feel like it. When the current relationship falters, they rummage through their garage to take an old car for a spin. It's not because they genuinely want to rekindle, but because they want to test whether you're still willing to care. In their mind, your attention or easy return is a major victory. It gives them the sense they still control your emotions, that you're still part of their assets. These actions aren't about healing, but about playing psychological games to boost their ego and relieve boredom. They want to see you waver, get confused, even hope only to withdraw once they've achieved their goal. So if one day the narcissist suddenly pops back into your life, be very cautious. This may just be a short joyride for them, not because they care about you, but because they're looking for a way to refresh their self-satisfaction. They're not after anything lasting or serious. They're testing whether you're still caught in their loop. Don't let yourself be drawn into this game. You're not a car in their garage. You're an independent human being deserving of real respect and love. And every time you hold your boundary, you not only protect yourself, but also break another link in their power game. Part 3. Hoovering you. After secretly monitoring you and gathering enough information about your life through social media, fake accounts, or mutual acquaintances who unwittingly become eyes and ears, the narcissist moves to a new phase, hoovering. The term comes from the Hoover vacuum cleaner, and that's exactly the point, to suck you back into the old vortex. This is when you must be more clear-headed than ever, because the tactics here are often subtle, sentimental, and theatrical deceptive enough to fool even the strongest hearts. When they sense the timing is ripe, they'll launch signals that seem harmless but carry tremendous impact. You might receive a long email drenched in flowery language, confessing pain, regret, and rehashing past upheavals. Other times it's a short message, just a few words like "I miss you" or "I'm sorry." But behind those brief lines lies an entire plan, a carefully calculated trap. What they want is not genuine reconciliation. They want to touch your heart, the part they know still holds wounds and still longs for an apology, for acknowledgement. They gamble that if they can awaken that compassion, you'll unlock the door yourself and let them in again. And once the door is cracked open, they'll slip through, flood in, and seize control. One common tactic is the "let's just be friends" proposal. They'll write or say things like, "I know we can't go back, but I don't want to lose you completely. Let's stay friends." On the surface, it sounds mature, sincere, as if they truly value you and want a healthy connection. But remember, narcissists don't have a real concept of friendship. In their mind, any connection is an opportunity to control. Just friends is merely a stepping stone, an entry point to probe your emotions and gradually pull you back to your old position. Sometimes they choose a different script, the final apology scene. You'll get a heartfelt message. "I just want to see you one last time to apologize for everything." You think you're strong enough, rational enough to meet, to listen, to close the past with dignity, but in that supposedly last meeting, they'll perform as a pitiable, endearing, remorseful person, just enough to soften your resolve. With a single tear, a sad look, a memory-laden line, you may find yourself pulled back into the old whirlpool. Narcissists don't apologize to change. They apologize to test whether you're still vulnerable, still willing to hand them power again. You may feel confident. "I'm immune. I'm strong enough not to get sucked in." But remember, they are patient predators. They know how to wait, hide, and appear at the exact moment you're most fragile, a lonely night, an exhausting day, a turbulent season of life. In that split second when your guard drops, they'll show up like a comforting balm, only to quickly turn back into the familiar poison. The danger of hoovering is that it isn't loud or brutal. It's wrapped in tenderness, apologies, and shiny new promises. It convinces you this time will be different, that they've changed, that love remains. In truth, it's a carefully staged play designed to put you back where you were, controlled, drained, and exploited. Ask yourself a crucial question. If they truly regretted their actions, if they truly loved you, why couldn't they show it while you were still there? Why do they only recognize your value after you leave? The simple answer: they're not remorseful. They regret losing the power they once held. And what they want back isn't you, it's the feeling of dominance, control, and ego feed. So what should you do when hoovering appears? First, remember that every "let's reconnect," every apology, every "let's just be friends" is not a sign of love, it's a test. Block all channels. Keep your boundaries firm. And above all, don't challenge yourself by agreeing to one last meeting. You don't need a meeting to close the past. The past closed the moment you chose no contact. On this journey, you may crave an apology. That's a natural human need, but don't let it become the lure that drags you back. The validation you need does not come from them, it comes from you. The fact that you were strong enough to leave, to choose peace, to heal, that is the proof you were right, that your experience was real, that you deserve more. Think of hoovering as the call of a dry well. It echoes, it beckons, it promises cool water at the bottom. But you know that climbing down is only stepping into darkness. Keep walking your own road, toward the light ahead, instead of returning to the pit that once imprisoned you. Because every time you refuse hoovering, you're not just refusing the narcissist. You're affirming to yourself, "I am no longer a victim. I am the one who chooses." And that is real power. The power a narcissist fears more than anything. Part 4. They rage when you find someone new. If hoovering is when the narcissist tries to pull you back with counterfeit sweetness, the next stage is where the mask falls and raw jealousy and possessiveness are revealed. When they discover you've moved on, found new happiness with someone else, jealousy erupts violently within them. But remember that jealousy is not evidence of love. It's the reaction of a selfish ego that's been wounded. In the narcissist's mind, you're not a free person. You're their property. And when that property appears in someone else's hands, they don't just feel the loss of a familiar supply. They feel diminished, insulted, challenged center stage before their ego. To them, your being happy without them is a humiliation. They can't stand the image of you smiling beside someone new. They can't bear the thought that another person can give you the peace they never could. So they shift from silence to fury, from watching to attacking. Ambiguous texts, threats, snide comments may pop up out of nowhere. Sometimes they send messages that feel like dark curses. Don't forget I'm the one who understands you best, or your new person will never love you like I do. These lines are not aimed at mending anything. They're meant to seed fear, doubt, and unease. At the extreme, they'll wield cruel weapons. Private photos, videos, secrets you once shared in trust. They'll threaten to expose, to humiliate, to destroy your reputation just to prove they still hold power. This is the moment you see that with a narcissist, love was never love. It was a transaction of power and possession. What's more disturbing is that they may not stop in the present. Even when they seem to let go, your memory remains parked in the garage of old relationships they keep. 5, 10, even 20 years later, when life hits them, when new supply runs low, they'll circle back to you. They'll sniff around to see if you're vulnerable, alone, if there's any crack they can squeeze through, and at the faintest sign, they show up trying to reel you back as if no time has passed. For a narcissist, there is no such thing as the end. In their world, every relationship is a pause, never a full stop. Imagine posting a photo hand in hand with your new partner while they stare at their screen, face twisted with resentment. A malicious thought gloats inside. I'll ruin that. I'll drag you back. I'll prove no one can be happy after leaving me. And then they act maybe with threatening calls, whispered lies to mutual friends, or public comments smearing your name. Each move springs from the same root, jealousy and the hunger to control. But remember, their rage doesn't prove how important you are to them. It reveals how fragile their ego is. Someone who truly loves will smile when you find happiness, even if that happiness has nothing to do with them. Only a narcissist feels threatened by your smile next to someone else. What should you do in this stage? First, protect your privacy. Don't overshare about your new relationship online. Give your happiness the quiet it needs to blossom, instead of turning it into a target for envy. Second, be mentally prepared for sabotage, and if necessary, don't hesitate to seek legal support. You can't always keep the peace with someone who only wants war. Finally, remember, their meltdown is a sign that you've truly broken free. Only when you've gone far enough, grown strong enough, become happy enough, does their distorted ego feel this threatened. Treat their anger as proof that you're on the right track. Don't let it pull you back. Let it motivate you to protect your new joy, to affirm that you've chosen the right path, the one leading to peace, freedom, and real love. Part 5. They manipulate how others see you. When every attempt to pull you back has failed, when their hoovering tactics no longer work, and when jealousy over your happiness with someone new only makes them more desperate, the narcissist will turn to another battlefield: public opinion. This is the stage where they no longer focus on manipulating you directly, but instead begin manipulating the world around you. Friends, family, colleagues, even those who were once closest to you. In their mind, if they cannot destroy you from within, they will ruin you from the outside. Imagine a cunning but terrible director staging a play where you are cast as the villain. They put on the perfect victim role, the betrayed one, the one who gave everything, the one abandoned by you in a cruel way. With their innate talent for twisting words, they retell the story in a distorted way, bending truths, adding details, repeating it until the listeners gradually believe that you are the heartless one. The heartbreaking part is that the audience of this drama sometimes includes people who once stood firmly by your side. Friends, even family members, may get swept into the wave of manipulation without realizing it. They hear deceitful confessions disguised as sincerity. They receive cries for help from the narcissist and believe they are helping a suffering soul. And so they become the flying monkeys, intermediaries manipulated to carry out the narcissist's schemes, sometimes with even more enthusiasm than the narcissists themselves. You start to notice the changes. Friends who were once close suddenly act distant and cold. They ask strange questions as if they have been told a completely different version of who you are. Some may even turn their backs on you, looking at you with suspicion and unfamiliarity. The feeling of being betrayed by those you once trusted can be more painful than being deceived by the narcissist. You don't just lose a romantic relationship, you begin to see other relationships in your life crack and rot under the weight of lies. This is the narcissist's deeper aim, to isolate you. When you have no allies, no support, you become an easier target. In their mind, if they cannot control you through love, they will control you through fear and loneliness. If they cannot keep you directly, they will destroy the network around you so you have nowhere left to lean on. But remember this, truth does not rush, but it endures. Lies spread quickly, but they also fade quickly. Those who truly know you, who are genuinely bonded to you, will eventually see what is fake and what is real. More importantly, you don't need to run around defending yourself to everyone. Each time you try to prove your innocence, you fall into their trap, playing the role of the defensive one, while they pose as the poor, wounded victim. What you need to do is maintain your dignity and calm. Instead of diving into arguments, let your actions and time reveal your true character. Focus on building your new life, nurturing healthy relationships, and quietly letting truth speak for itself. Every step forward you take, every small achievement, every peaceful moment you create, these are the strongest refutations of their smear campaign. When the narcissist manipulates public opinion, they believe they are winning, but in truth, this is proof they are losing. They can no longer control you directly, so they resort to seeking support from outside. And in that desperation, they expose their own weakness, a hollow ego, dependent on others' belief to survive. So if you find yourself slandered, smeared, or isolated, don't panic. See it as a necessary stage of breaking free from a narcissist. It is not proof that you are weak, but evidence that you are strong enough to walk away. For only when you are beyond their control do they need a crowd to continue their power games. Always remember, your worth is not defined by the eyes of those manipulated against you. Your worth comes from how you live, from the integrity you hold, from the light you radiate even when surrounded by darkness. And that calmness, that self-mastery, is what makes you truly unbeatable in the game the narcissist has staged. Part 6. They showcase a new supply to provoke you. After failing to pull you back, after failing to manipulate public opinion enough to bring you down, the narcissist will often deploy another weapon, flaunting their new supply. This is a familiar and cruel tactic because it strikes directly at your self-esteem, at your still healing wounds, at the deep fear of being replaced, one of the greatest fears in the human heart. Suddenly, on social media, you see them hand in hand with someone new. Pictures overflow with smiles, luxurious trips, expensive gifts, and sweet public declarations. The new person is glorified, paraded, praised as if the narcissist has just discovered the true love of their life. And if you are not careful, you may find yourself asking, was I not good enough? Was I wrong to leave? Have they really changed and now love for real? But the truth is the exact opposite. The new supply is not true love, but simply another pawn in the same old game. In fact, narcissists often prepare backup prey while still in the relationship with you. Like venomous spiders, they weave multiple webs so that if one breaks, they still have others. The appearance of someone new is not proof they have changed. It is proof they were never loyal, never capable of wholehearted love. The purpose of this display is nothing but provocation. They want you to see it, to hurt, to feel jealousy and confusion. They want to plant the thought in your mind that you have been easily replaced, that the happiness you once longed for now belongs to someone else. All those dazzling pictures are not for the public. They are staged specifically for you, the one they know will quietly watch and feel pain. And if you give in, if you let those images make you doubt yourself, you fall right into their trap. Because the narcissist only needs to see your suffering, only needs to know you are still affected to feel satisfied. In their eyes, your pain is proof they still hold power. But you must understand this. True happiness never needs loud display. People who are genuinely at peace in love do not need to flaunt it to prove anything. The very fact that the narcissist is constantly showcasing their new love shows their desperate attempt to fill the void of their hollow soul. The harder they try to prove they are happy, the clearer it becomes that inside they are anxious and fake. Do not fall into the trap of comparison. The new person is not better than you. The new person is simply at the beginning of the same cycle you have already escaped. The trips, the sweet words, the gifts, all will eventually turn into control, torment, and manipulation. And when the cycle repeats, the new supply will realize they are just the next version of an old story, nothing more, nothing less. What you need to do is not follow or analyze them. What you need is to return to yourself. See their flaunting of the new partner as a stage performance. Spectators may be fooled by lights and music, but you, sitting backstage, have already seen the chipped paint, the fake props, the recycled script. You no longer need to believe in the illusion. Let them perform, if that is how they choose to live. As for you, step away from the audience, turn your back, and invest your time in what truly nourishes your soul: peace, self-respect, and healthy relationships. Because ultimately, the strongest response is not confrontation, not jealousy, but living a radiant life so full that they have no place in it anymore. If one day you happen to see them flaunting with someone new, smile and remind yourself, that is not happiness. That is just a cycle I was lucky enough to escape. And in that moment you will feel the true power of no contact, not only cutting off their control, but opening a new path for yourself where real happiness is waiting. Part 7. They hope you live in regret. When all their tricks from hoovering to attacks to flaunting the new supply fail to sway you, the narcissist does not stop. In the shadows of their twisted mind, they still nurture a persistent hope that you will live in regret. For them, nothing is sweeter than the image of you, tormented, hurting, missing them, blaming yourself for leaving. They crave this not out of love, but because your regret is the last remaining proof of their power. In the narcissist's distorted thinking, you betrayed them. You dared to turn your back on their inflated ego. To them, that is humiliation. And to restore the balance, they need one thing: for you to pay a price. That price is not money or material wealth, but psychological torment. They want you lying awake at night, wondering if you were too harsh. They want you looking in the mirror and accusing yourself, maybe I was wrong to walk away. Ugly. This is the coldest cruelty, because it is no longer an external game. It is an attempt to invade your inner world. They want to turn you into the one who punishes yourself. And if they sense you are suffering, if they feel you are haunted by regret, they count it as a victory. In their eyes, you don't need to return. As long as you still hurt because of them, that is enough to make them feel powerful. But here is the truth you must face. Regret is not a debt you owe. You loved, you gave, you tried everything you could. If anyone should feel regret, it is them, the one who destroyed the love that was offered wholly. The regret you might feel, if any, is not the truth about your worth, but the residue of long-term manipulation. Regret often clings to an unfinished dream. The dream that things could have been different, that they might have changed, that you and they could have had a beautiful ending. But remember, all those could-haves are illusions. Reality has already answered you many times. They do not change. They only repeat. And if you go back out of regret, you will find yourself trapped in the same circle, where every old wound only cuts deeper. This is why you must stand firm in truth. Each time the thought of regret appears, remind yourself, I did not leave because I was weak. I left because I was strong. I did not leave because I stopped loving. I left because I chose to love myself more. That distinction is the key to breaking free from psychological manipulation. The narcissist longs for the day you come begging, weeping, asking for another chance. They imagine you before them, pleading like a guilty criminal, begging for pardon. And in that fantasy, they sit on the throne, judging, bestowing mercy, as if they are the only authority in the story. But that is just fiction in their mind. The reality is you don't have to beg for anything. Forgiveness does not rest in their hands, but in yours forgiving yourself, forgiving the naivety that once believed you could save someone who never wanted to be saved. Instead of living in regret, turn this experience into a lesson. Every tear that fell, every sleepless night now becomes a reminder that you deserve more. Let the pain become material for strength, not chains for your soul. What drives the narcissist to despair is realizing this. You do not regret. You do not break. You do not collapse. You are living, moving forward, building a life that does not need them. And in that moment, the balance of power reverses. The one who thought you would remain forever weak is left powerless, watching your freedom. Remember, regret is not destiny. It is only a passing cloud. You can let it cover your sky, or you can wait patiently for the sun to pierce through. And that sunlight is no contact. The courageous decision to walk away, to preserve your peace, to choose real love for yourself. So if you ever hear that faint whisper, maybe I was wrong, answer it with a stronger, firmer voice. No, I was right. I saved myself. That is the only truth you need to carry, and it is the greatest nightmare a narcissist must face. Part 8. They still secretly hope you'll come back. Even when everything has shattered, even when you have walked away, gone silent, and stepped into a new life, the narcissist cannot accept that you have escaped. On the surface, they may act cold, indifferent, even cruel, as if you never existed in their world. But deep down, a hidden fire still burns, the hope that one day you will return. This is not the hope of love, it is the hunger for power. In their eyes, your return means they still have control. It is like a medal, a trophy they can hang on the fragile wall of their ego. If you come back, it proves you were wrong, that you cannot live without them, that they are still the center of your universe. And so, they feed this illusion endlessly. Sometimes they reassure themselves by telling others, they'll come back, I know it. Sometimes they replay old memories in their mind, convinced those are enough to pull you back. Sometimes, in lonely nights, they quietly type a message, then delete it, torn between keeping the distance and trying once more. In their world, the relationship with you never ended, it is only paused. What makes this stage dangerous is their ability to reappear subtly. They may not storm back like before, but slip in softly, gently, seeming changed. They might send you a birthday message. I wish you happiness. They might leave a harmless-looking comment on an old post. Miss those days. These small gestures, if you are still craving recognition, can easily stir your heart. But ask yourself, if they truly repented, if they truly loved, why did that change only appear after you left? Why couldn't they love you healthily when you were still there? The answer is clear. Because they have not changed. They are only playing a new version of themselves, a different mask, to test their luck. And if you step back in, the game begins again, exactly as before. You must understand this. Their secret hope does not reflect your value, but their weakness. They cannot bear losing power. They cannot bear the thought that you are living a life without them. And so they wait silently. They watch silently. They look for openings silently. What you need is not fear of their waiting, but reinforcement of your own faith. Remember, no contact is not just an act of cutting off. It is a commitment to yourself. I choose freedom. I choose peace. I choose to love myself more than any illusion. When you stand firm, when you keep living fully, the narcissist will face their harshest truth. Their hope is nothing but fantasy. And in that moment, you not only free yourself, but also defeat their game without even trying. Let them cling to their false hope while you walk the real path. Let them live in the illusion that you will return, while you quietly build a life they will never touch again. For the sweetest revenge is not making them suffer, but proving they have absolutely no power in your life anymore. And when you achieve that, you will see your silence is not only a weapon, it is the clearest declaration of all. You have won not in their game, but in your own journey of freedom. Part 9. The Narcissistic Cycle and Why They Never Change. One of the most haunting questions people wrestle with after leaving a toxic relationship is, can they change? Deep down, we hope that love, sincerity, or time might touch their heart and turn them into someone different. But the harsh truth is, narcissists rarely change. And to understand why, you must look squarely at the cycle they are forever trapped in. That cycle repeats in 3 phases: idealize, devalue, discard. At first, when they meet you, they put on their most charming face and paint the perfect picture of the love you've always dreamed of. They place you on a pedestal, promise a dazzling future, and shower you with the attention and sweetness your heart craves. This is the honeymoon phase, where you feel you found your perfect other half. In reality, it's only the warm-up to the cycle. As soon as you begin to trust, when you open your heart and give yourself fully, the second phase begins: devalue. Compliments turn into criticism. Care morphs into control. Loving eyes harden into contempt. Bit by bit, you are dragged down from the pedestal they built for you, and slowly they twist reality until you doubt yourself, wondering whether you've changed, whether you truly aren't good enough. Once they've drained you of energy, once you are exhausted and depleted, they move to the third phase: discard. Cold, ruthless, as if you never existed. They may vanish or end the relationship with some absurd reason. The cruelest part is that they often do this when you need them most, as a way of asserting that they, not you, hold the power of life and death over the relationship. But the cycle never ends there. When the new supply fails to satisfy them, or when they feel empty again, they can return to phase 1 with you idealizing, promising, pleading. And the wheel turns again. Idealize, devalue, discard, over and over, like a law that never ends. Crucially, this isn't a string of random behaviors, it's a mental operating system. Narcissists do not know how to love because they do not see others as independent beings with inherent worth. They see you as a mirror for their ego. When you shine, they use your light to glow. When that light makes them feel small, they extinguish it to seem bigger. And when they're bored, they throw you away like an old toy. This is why they never change. Change requires facing oneself, acknowledging wounds, accepting the truth that they too need healing. Narcissists choose the opposite path: denial, blame, manipulation. They flee from their inner truth by controlling others. And when these behaviors bring them power and supply, they have no incentive to change. Why abandon a game that always grants them victory? Some will say, but I've seen them cry. I've seen them feel remorse. Yes, sometimes they cry. Sometimes they apologize. But look closely. Do those tears lead to changed behavior? Or are they simply a performance, a way to keep you a little longer? Real remorse isn't in words, it's in the courage to face oneself, take responsibility, and pursue healing. That is precisely what narcissists never do. Understanding this cycle is essential so you stop nurturing illusions. Each time you go back, you're not beginning a new story, you're stepping back into the same whirlpool. Each time you forgive, you're not giving them a chance to grow, you're giving the cycle one more spin. Eventually you'll realize the only thing you can change is yourself. You can choose to stop the cycle by stepping out, by saying enough. You can choose no contact, not to punish them, but to save yourself. When you move on, the cycle in their world may still spin with others, with fresh supply. But you are no longer inside it. You have stepped off the wheel of fate and onto your own path. And that is the greatest victory. Part 10. Why no contact is the only path. After everything, we arrive at a truth that isn't easy to accept, but is crystal clear. When leaving a narcissist, no contact is not a mere option. It is the only path. You may hesitate, tell yourself, a little contact won't hurt, or we can still be friends. But every such path leads you back into the old spiral. To understand why, start with the narcissist's core trait. They do not see you as a person. They see you as supply. To them, every text you send, every look you give, every reaction you show is fuel to feed their empty ego. As long as there is the tiniest thread connecting you, they will use it to pull you back. And remember, they are masters at turning a thin thread into a heavy chain. Many people attempt low contact, limiting contact, without cutting it off. They think it keeps distance without being extreme. But low contact is like an alcoholic saying, "I'll just have one drink for fun." We all know how that ends. With a narcissist, one crack is enough. Leave the door slightly ajar, and they will push it open. Once you let them in, the game resumes, and so does the harm. No contact is the only path, because it doesn't just sever external communication, it reestablishes your internal boundaries. It sends a powerful message, not only to them, but to yourself. I choose to stop. I choose freedom. I will no longer be a puppet in your game. As crew, many fear no contact because they fear emptiness, loneliness, the lack of closure. But think again. How can you find closure from someone who was never honest? How can you seek comfort from the very person who wounded you? That's like returning to the knife that cut you and asking it to heal you. No contact is the only way because it creates space for healing. When you no longer check messages, stalk social media, or jump at every call, your heart finally has a chance to rest. Like an open wound, it can only heal when you stop letting dirt in. Each time you allow the narcissist access, you scratch the wound open again. Picture it this way. If you're in recovery, would you leave a bottle of liquor on the table? If you're healing from a burn, would you put your hand back in the flame? No. You would keep your distance and choose a clean, safe, healthy environment. That is what no contact provides. Some protest. But we have children, shared assets, a business. True, sometimes a complete cutoff is impossible. But remember, you can still implement modified contact. Communicate only when absolutely necessary, strictly on practical matters, children, finances, work, with zero emotional entanglement. In essence, that too is a form of no contact. You deny them access to your heart and refuse them the chance to disturb your peace. The truth is, no contact is not a punishment for them. It is a gift to yourself. It's your chance to reconnect with the inner voice that has been drowned out for too long. It's how you take back control of your life from someone who always wanted to hold it. Above all, it's the first step toward rebuilding a healthy life filled with real love. There will be days you want to break no contact. Nights of loneliness when your fingers tremble over the send button. Moments when memories flood back and you crave something familiar. But remember, that urge is like a craving in withdrawal, intense, insistent, but temporary. Each time you write it out, you become stronger, freer. There is no other way. You cannot negotiate with a narcissist. You cannot hope this time will be different. The cycle has already made it plain. They do not change. The only change available is yours, and it begins with 2 words. No contact. Think of no contact as a door. On the other side, the narcissist may scream, pound, boast, or threaten. But as long as you keep the door closed, the noise will fade and the distance will grow. And one day, you'll realize you no longer care what they do, say, or how they live. That is the day you are truly free. Part 11. Common mistakes that make no contact fail. No contact sounds simple. Block everything, disappear, don't respond. In reality, it's an incredibly difficult journey. Many people start with determination but collapse halfway, unintentionally letting the narcissist slip back into their life. The reason isn't that you're weak, it's that the narcissist knows how to exploit deep vulnerabilities in human psychology. Understanding the common mistakes will help you avoid these subtle traps. Mistake Hassan, thinking just this one time. You might tell yourself, I'll just reply to one message, take one call, meet once for closure. Remember, with a narcissist, even once is more than enough. One reply equals a signal that the door is still ajar. One last meeting equals a golden chance for them to stage a remorse act and reignite your emotions. In an instant, the boundaries you worked so hard to build can collapse. Treat any just this once as handing them the key back into your life. Mistake #2, keeping a backup channel of contact. Some people change their number but keep their email, or block Facebook but still follow on Instagram. They leave a side door open with the thought, what if there's something important? Narcissists exploit exactly this what if. They can turn the unimportant into urgent, the meaningless into a valid reason. If there's a door, they'll keep knocking until you cave. Instead of leaving a backup for them, leave a backup for yourself by putting up airtight barriers. Mistake #3, seeking closure from the narcissist. This is the most common trap. We crave an apology, an admission, an explanation. But ask yourself, if they weren't honest throughout the relationship, why would they be honest now? Closure from them doesn't exist. What they offer is just another performance, another loop. True closure doesn't come from their words, but from your decision to stop and let go. Mistake #4, still checking their social media. One of the secret paths by which no contact fails is the habit of quietly viewing their Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. You think you're just looking, but you're putting yourself back under their control. Every photo, every caption can be bait. Seeing them happy with a new supply hurts you. Seeing them post something sad stirs your sympathy. Either way, you're trapped. The only way. Block thoroughly, and more importantly, block the habit in your mind. Mistake #5, hoping they've changed. This is the hardest illusion to let go of. After a period of silence, the narcissist may return with promises, appearing as a new version. They seem grateful, remorseful, aware of their mistakes. And you, with a wounded heart, may believe a miracle has happened. Remember, they haven't changed, they've changed costumes. Each time you believe, you become the audience for a new act. Mistake #6, letting loneliness take the wheel. No contact has a brutal phase. Hollow loneliness. You got used to their presence even if it was toxic. When they vanish, you feel a void. On long nights you may feel the urge to reach out not from love, but from fear of emptiness. This is the most dangerous moment. If you contact them, the spiral resumes. If you endure it and pass through, healing begins. Remember, loneliness won't kill you. Going back to a narcissist might. Mistake #7, trying to prove something. Many break no contact to teach them a lesson, to show they've changed, succeeded, or are happier. The truth, the more you try to prove, the more you show the narcissist they still have influence. Your greatest victory isn't making them see, it's living well without needing them to see. So how do you avoid these mistakes? The answer is simple. Discipline with yourself. No contact isn't just blocking them, it's blocking the habits, thoughts, and temptations that pull you back. It requires you to be steadfast, to remind yourself daily, I didn't leave because I'm weak. I left because I choose peace. And remember, each time you overcome the urge to break no contact, you're rewriting your story. You're no longer the victim being dragged into the spiral. You are the one who stops the spiral. You are the one choosing freedom. Part 12. The healing power after no contact. When you step into no contact, you might initially think simply, I have to stay away to avoid more harm. But gradually, you realize no contact isn't just self-defense. It's a profound journey toward healing. It's not only closing a door on the narcissist, it's opening a new door, one that leads back to yourself. In the beginning, the silence can be terrifying. You are used to calls and messages, to emotional explosions, whether counterfeit affection or cold humiliation. When all of that suddenly disappears, you fall into a void. That void feels like a desert, dry, vast, and lonely. Many rush back just to fill the emptiness. But if you're brave enough to stay, you'll discover deserts are also where you learn to find oases. No contact gives you the chance to hear your own voice again. In a toxic relationship, that voice was drowned out by manipulation and gaslighting. You doubted yourself, asking, "Am I wrong? Am I crazy? Am I too sensitive?" As silence settles in, you begin to hear a familiar whisper. "No, I'm not wrong. I deserve love. I have worth." At first it's small and faint, but with each day of no contact, it grows clearer. Healing also comes from learning to distinguish longing from love. After leaving, you may miss them, but in truth, you miss familiarity, those brief moments of counterfeit sweetness. No contact helps you see that real love doesn't exhaust you, doesn't leave you confused, and doesn't require you to lose yourself. What you clung to wasn't love, it was an illusion. And when you recognize this, you begin to let go not only of them, but of the illusion of them. Another strength of no contact is the restoration of boundaries. In a relationship with a narcissist, your boundaries were violated again and again. They invaded your time, thoughts, sleep, work, every corner of your life. With no contact, you reclaim those borders piece by piece. At first, it's not replying to messages. Then it's no longer checking their social media. Then it's saying no to situations that make you feel unsafe. Each time, you rebuild a wall that prevents anyone from easily breaching your peace. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." No contact is an act of looking within. You stop focusing on the narcissist ego and begin illuminating your inner world. As that light shines, you can face old wounds, childhood fears, and the shadow parts you once avoided. That is when true healing starts. You realize the pain you endured isn't a period at the end of the sentence, it's the raw material for growth. Every tear becomes evidence of inner strength. Every time you want to text but don't, you train your will. Every time you choose peace over chaos, you affirm your value. Those small acts, collected over time, transform you into someone new, steadier, wiser, freer. No contact also opens the door to healthy relationships. When you're no longer bound to the narcissist, you have space to meet people who genuinely care and truly love. More importantly, you won't enter a new relationship as a victim, but as someone who has learned to set boundaries and love themselves. Remember, the healing power after no contact doesn't arrive instantly. It's a process. Some days you'll feel light, other days empty. Sometimes you'll feel free, other times uncertain. The difference is that with each passing day, you move closer to your true self. One day you'll realize you no longer wake up haunted by them. Your heart no longer races at every notification. You no longer care how they're living. Instead, you wake up with peace and the conviction that your life is your own. That is the greatest gift of no contact. It frees you not only from a relationship, but from the illusion that you cannot live without them. It returns you to your true power, the right to live as a free individual, the right to choose happiness, the right to love in a way that is real. Part 13. Practical strategies to maintain no contact. Knowing that no contact is the only path is hard. Maintaining it is the real challenge. Many begin with iron determination, only to fall back into the old trap after a few weeks or even a few days. To make no contact a firm pillar in your healing journey, you need practical strategies, clear principles that protect you from temptation and the narcissist's subtle games. Block thoroughly, leave no loopholes. Block their phone number, email, social media, and even mutual acquaintances if necessary. Narcissists won't hesitate to use fake accounts, message from unknown numbers, or borrow a friend's profile to reach you. Treat every channel as a door, and your job is to lock every single one. Even a door left slightly ajar is enough for them to slip back in. Remember, this isn't extreme, it's self-protection. Remove every trigger that could pull you back. Old texts, photos, gifs, even a shared playlist, any of these can become memory traps. On a sad day, you scroll a chat thread and think, maybe he really did love me, and your heart wavers. Don't let that happen. Clean your space, delete the data, put away anything that stirs nostalgia. You can't heal in a room full of toxic memories. Build a support system. No one walks this road alone. Find a trusted friend, a community group, or professional therapy. When you feel weak, text that person, not the narcissist. Let someone remind you why you left, what you're worth, and that you are not alone. Keep a no-contact journal. Each day, write your feelings, how you felt today, what you overcame, what you learned. When you're wavering, read back to see how far you've come. The journal is proof of progress, a mirror of your strength. If you survive day one, you can survive the days ahead. Replace old habits with new ones. In the relationship, you spent hours on texts, arguments, and anxiety. After leaving, that void is huge. If you don't fill it, you're likely to relapse. Try energy-restoring activities. Meditation, yoga, writing, drawing, learning a new skill. Let every hour you live become a step toward freedom, not a gap waiting to be filled by them. Practice an inner mantra. When you want to break no contact, have a mantra ready. For example, I don't need closure from the one who hurt me, or every message I send is a step backward. Repeat it like an automatic brake to remind yourself why you chose this path. Prepare for surprise tactics. The narcissist won't quit easily. One day, they may feign serious illness, ask a mutual to relay a message, or suddenly show up in person. Pre-plan your response. Silence, no reply, or strictly minimal replies only in unavoidable circumstances, for example, regarding children. Preparation keeps you from being caught off guard. Reward every milestone. 1 week, no contact, treat yourself to a good meal. 1 month, buy a small gift. 3 months, take a short trip. Turn the journey into a string of victories so your progress stays visible and motivating. Build a long-term vision. Ask yourself, if I keep no contact for a year, what will my life be like? Likely calmer, healthier, more successful. Then ask, if I break no contact today, what happens? The same old cycle, the same old tears, the same old pain. When you place the two futures side by side, your choice becomes clear. Practice daily self-gratitude. Finally, thank yourself for the courage to leave, to be silent, to walk alone. Look in the mirror and say, I'm proud I chose me. No contact isn't merely blocking someone, it's a declaration of self-love, the root of all healing. Part 14, Rebirth, who you become after escaping a narcissist. Escaping a narcissist isn't just leaving a relationship, it's stepping out of an invisible prison you lived in for years. When that door closes, you don't merely lose someone, you find yourself. That is the moment of rebirth. Picture your journey, from a victim drained of energy to a survivor, from weary and self-doubting to someone who lifts their head and says, I'm still here, I never disappeared. Every tear that once fell is now evidence of your inner strength. Every wound that seemed to destroy you is now a scar reminding you that you won. What does rebirth mean? It means you no longer live to meet others' demands, especially those who only sought to drain you. You live for you. You choose clothes that feel like you, work that makes you proud, friends who make you feel loved. Every decision springs from the autonomy you've reclaimed. That is real freedom, the freedom a narcissist never wanted you to have. After no contact, you discover another truth. Pain didn't kill you, it trained you. Every sleepless night for them becomes a night of listening to yourself. Every moment of despair becomes a lesson in trusting your own strength. Pain turns into lessons, lessons into wisdom, wisdom into light, guiding your next steps. And the miracle is you don't change only for yourself. In your rebirth, you become a lighthouse for those still trapped in the dark. Through your steady silence and decisive choice, you send a message. Getting out is possible. Healing is possible. Freedom is possible. You may not realize it, but the light you radiate is inspiring many others. Rebirth also means you no longer fall for the old traps. You spot red flags early, excessive flattery, subtle control, boundary violations. You no longer grit your teeth and endure. You know when to say no. You know when to walk away. You no longer wait for a rescuer because you became your own. In Jungian terms, this rebirth is a step on the path of individuation, the journey back to your true self. When you were in the toxic bond, you lived in the narcissist's shadow, orbiting them like a planet around a Sunday. After you leave, you become your own Sunday. You shine from within, and everything else aligns in selective orbit. People, work, and opportunities that truly fit are naturally drawn to you. You also realize the silence you once feared has become your strength. Before, you dreaded an empty inbox and a quiet phone. Now, that silence proves you've escaped meaningless arguments and endless wars. In the quiet, you hear your own laughter, the music you love, the steady rhythm of a peaceful heart. It's a soundtrack you were denied for too long. Rebirth doesn't mean you'll never hurt again. The wounds and memories remain. But instead of letting them control you, you transform them into fuel. You use the past as energy to create a radiant future. You deserve real love, love that doesn't demand your dignity, doesn't make you doubt yourself, and doesn't keep you living in fear. Most importantly, rebirth teaches you to cherish yourself in ways you never did before. You no longer wait for others to define your worth. You know exactly where it lies in the kindness you give, the resilience you keep, the boundaries you honor. And when you truly know your worth, you no longer accept half measures or users. You choose what's best for you because you learned the lesson with your own blood and tears. In your rebirth, you'll see, no narcissist holds the power to destroy you anymore. They may try to return, to stage, to boast, but you are no longer who you were. You've turned the page, and there is no place for them on it. This is the deepest meaning of no contact. Not only escape, but rebirth. Not only leaving, but returning to yourself. Not only losing someone, but finding who you truly are. And when you reach that moment, you'll know this hard journey was entirely worth it. We have walked together through a long journey. From the 8 stages a narcissist goes through after you implement no contact, to a deep analysis of the narcissistic cycle, why they never change, the power of no contact, the common mistakes, the practical strategies, and finally, your rebirth. Now you can see the whole picture with clearer eyes. No contact is not just an action, it is an inner revolution. You began this journey in pain, carrying wounds in your heart that seemed impossible to heal. You left with trembling hands, afraid you might be alone forever. But step by step, day by day of silence, each time you refused to fall for their messages or provocations, you became someone new. You are no longer a victim trapped in the spiral. You are a survivor. You are a warrior. And more importantly, you have become your own guide. Remember the 8 stages we talked about. When you leave, they believe you'll return because they cannot imagine a world where you are truly free. When you go silent, they stalk you because in their mind you still belong to them. When you stay firm, they hoover you, laying traps with sweet words and fake tears. When you find happiness with someone new, they rage with jealousy and madness. When you stand strong, they manipulate public opinion, turning you into the villain in others' eyes. When they fail, they flaunt a new supply, parading fake happiness to provoke you. When they have no power left, they hope you live in regret, for that is the last drug for their empty ego. And finally, even when everything is broken, they still secretly hope you'll return because they cannot bear the truth that you have truly escaped. But the important thing isn't what they do. The important thing is what you do. You chose not to react, not to play their game, not to give them the power they crave. You chose silence, boundaries, no contact. And in that choice, you rewrote your destiny. Yes, you may have stumbled, weakened, cried until there were no tears left. But the truth is this: every time you refused to go back, you planted a new seed of freedom. Every time you paused, breathed, and remembered why you left, you laid another brick on the new path. And now, you are standing on that path, the one that leads to peace, to true love, to yourself. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." On this journey, you have turned the unconscious manipulation, repetition, dependency into consciousness. You have seen the cycle, recognized the game, and dared to break free. That didn't just save you from one relationship, it saved you from a lifetime of chains. So ask yourself, who do you want to be for the rest of your life? Someone forever controlled by fear, or a free human being living in truth? Loving yourself? No. Contact is not an ending, it is a beginning. It is the declaration that from now on, you no longer live to serve someone else's sick ego, but to honor your own soul. And I want you to know this. You are not alone. Out there, millions are walking the same road. Each of us is a silent warrior, once broken, now rising, healing, radiating light. You are part of that community. And by sharing your story, you can become the inspiration for someone still trapped. So if you are hearing these words, take them as a message. You are strong enough to continue. You are worthy enough to be truly loved. And you are fully capable of building a life that is radiant, peaceful, and free of the narcissist shadow. If this video touched your heart, leave a comment and share your story, not only for me to know, but so others will know they are not alone. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so we can keep walking this healing journey together. Every share from you could be a lifeline for someone still stuck in the dark. You've come so far already. Don't look back. Keep walking. And remember, no contact is not just a decision, it is a declaration that you have chosen yourself.